Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in this crazy world. Hello. Brendon Isaiah Bengtson here. We are going to do some character art today. We have been working on a project for a few streams now, and let me get the concept ready. That's the one. Um, this is This is a concept from Bjorn Huri in his book Abominations. Actually, let me put that guy, that one, and that one. Yeah. So he put out a book of concepts called Abominations, and this is one of the concepts that he did in there, called the Demon General. If you would like to go back and watch some of the previous streams from the get-go, you can go to ZBrushLive.com and then find my um, my page, and should have all of the beginnings, all of the previous ones. You can see where we went from very first block out to everything else here. So this is where we are at the moment. Let me bring the concept back up. There we are. We are sculpting in a neutral pose because we're doing it for a video game pipeline. So we want to do everything in a static pose, which is kind of boring until an animator gets a hold of it and actually does cool stuff with it. So we do have to take a little bit of the pose and character out of the concept and get everything as static as possible for production. So I've been playing around with the idea of actually doing a secondary version of this character in a pose for a collectible. I actually started on that on my own, and I'll show you where I got so far. This is where I am. Let's see, is it this one? Yep, there we go. So just playing around with some ideas for some poses. Maybe getting some cloth drapery, those types of things. This is all just really quick dynamics from ZBrush. Comes in really handy for just kind of blocking stuff out. Make sure that we have connection to chat. Okay, I think we got it. Okay. So yeah, I've been kind of playing around with the idea, but I do want to continue with the game version though. We may come back to this one and just do some stuff where when we finish some pieces from here, we may just kind of copy and paste them over to this one. Because I don't want to do a lot of finishing work. Sven, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I don't want to do a lot of finishing work on this one and then have to take it back over to this one. So I think it would be easier if I finished high-res details, being able to get as much symmetry details as possible, and then be able to just cut and paste them over to this one. So that's a secondary one. We'll see how sick of this project I get by the time we're done with the high-res for this one. There was actually another project that I started. I was actually supposed to be in one of the ZBrush community sessions for the ZBrush Summit, but my Comcast went out that week, so I had to abort being part of that. But I did start a project for that one, and that one was the topic was reimagination. I think is what reimagine. Um, and one of my favorite so it was like take a character and bring something iconic, take another version of that particular character and come up with something more like iconic. So I was like, wow, what's a good like folklore or folk tale or um, like character or creature that everybody kind of knows, but there's no like one single design. You're like, oh, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's that particular character. I was like, you know what? That'd be kind of cool to design the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman. Everybody knows who the Boogeyman is. So I was playing around some ideas for the Boogeyman, and actually this is what I came up with so far. Again, just very very early blockout phase, but this is something that I've been working on for a version of the Boogeyman. The Boogeyman. I always thought of him as kind of this. He's not gigantic, but he's not so small, right? He's always like, oh, the kids are bad. Boogeyman's gonna come eat you. So I want to keep him a little bit small and a little bit plumpy, but very devious, creepy feel. So this is what I've come up with so far. And what's up, Dargan? And I really wanted to get kind of an iconic face. I haven't blocked in the rest of his teeth here yet, so there's still a lot to do. But one of the things I really wanted to do was nail a couple of iconic uh, kind of design points. One is a gigantic smile, right? Because if he's gonna eat a kid, like he's got to be able to open big enough, right? So by having a larger of a mouth, kind of shows like, oh, there's stretching and weird kind of fantastical stuff happening. But then I also wanted to have a design for his face and his eyes, because like when you're thinking about the Boogeyman, you're kind of in the dark and you're like, whoa, what is, you think you see eyes staring at you. So I didn't want to just do regular eyes, right? Or even like completely black eyes. I want to have something really, really iconic eyes looking at you. So I went with this kind of cat cat style, but very like, or goat. Goat is actually the one I was looking for. I like goat, but keep it like kind of black and white. So it's a little bit opposite of what you would normally have, where the sclera is white and the pupil is black. So and I kept them small and a little more wide set, so that when if you were just sitting there and you just saw like just these eyes kind of sitting at looking at you, you would know right away that it was the Boogeyman, because it's the like kind of iconic eye or iris design at that size set a little bit further apart. And then you can have this big old crazy smile. But anyways, that's another project that I kind of started that I would like to do some kind of finish work to. And then I took it into, wasn't John Wick supposed to be the boogie? I don't know. Was he? Was that the original idea of John Wick? I took it into Keyshot and started playing around with some lights and stuff, and getting some kind of early light block in, where he's like, oh, turning on the little closet light. I was thinking about having like another little night light down here that may shine up and catch him from this side, but the rest would be kind of pretty dark. Anyways, thought that was a pretty fun idea. What's up, Spicer? How you doing, man? Thanks, man. Yeah, definitely going for that like super iconic creepy look. He was referred to in the film as the Boogeyman. Really? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I remember that now, Darkham. I do remember that. Did you guys, any of you guys remember seeing the old Stephen King movie, Cat's Eye? It was like this little collection of short stories from a cat's point of view, and the last short story was about the Boogeyman, and it was about how the Boogeyman he like came out of like this little hole in your wall, and he like climbed up your bed when your blanket like goes off the side of the bed. He like climbed up the bed, and then he like got, yeah, exactly. Spicer, you're old enough to remember that, huh? And he like climb up the the bedspread that's going off the edge of the bed, and then he would like climb up into your chest and then like suck just the kid's soul like out of his nose. It scared the caca out of me as a kid. Actually, that one scared me and affected me so bad that I still to this day I don't let my blanket go off the edge of my bed at night when I'm sleeping. So the boogeyman can't like jump up there, like climb up it and stuff. Anywho, so that's another project that I was supposed to be doing with Spicer actually. Looks like your sister many years ago after a night out of Sambuca. Right? Dude, you cover my I always cover my feet after that film. Oh my god, that affected me so bad. It was crazy. Oh, those good times. All right. Let's I'm going to start actually working on the high res for the shoulder pieces. Um so let's take a look at some shoulder pieces. We got a majority of them blocked out, but I would like to start getting some of the higher res and kind of move it past block in stage. So I was looking a little bit closer at this, and I really like this treatment here, as this is sitting a little bit higher than this little plane, and these are kind of just not really as refined. So I think I'm going to go with this treatment, and then just copy that through here on these ones. So let's work on getting this one done first, and then we can start copying it to those ones. So what I always do is, so as you see, this one is just a plane with dynamic turned on to give it some thickness. So usually what I do in this blockout stage, um, I'll just have this plane and I'll move it around however I need to, and then use this thickness so that I don't have to worry about the edges, like the actual thickness of the edges, getting all kind of whacked out while I'm moving big pieces around, which becomes really, really, really helpful. But now that I'm ready to move past this stage, I really want to get in and start moving that to the next. Dude, Cat's Eye messed me up so bad. All right, so let's do this. I want to duplicate the original. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Geo and then just hit apply. And what that's going to do is just going to keep that as is. So maybe we can sharpen this up just a little bit. Am I as Anna? I should change that. Thank you. Let me see if I can change that real quick right now. I think it's exclamation point title. Let me try this. All right, I'm going to be working as Anna today. Hello, my name is not Anna. How is everybody doing? I am Brendon. Hello. Which brush was the soft edge one? Is just smooth. So I use Alt Smooth quite a bit. So Alt Smooth is if you're if you hold down Shift and you start smoothing, but then you lift up on from the Shift button, then what that does is it still smooths, but it tries to keep the overall shape of what you have, and just kind of evens out the the normals in those areas. So that's what I did. Otherwise, if you just use the regular one, it loses its shape like that. So it tries to kind of take everything and just. I do look pretty, don't I? I I lost all my hair though. Um, but that's what Alt Smooth does, and I use that quite a bit. So you can also see here, um, it tries to kind of just even out all of the um, the vertices. Uh, no, that's I say Alt Smooth because um, oops, it's the alternate version of the smooth. So if I'm just holding down Shift, I get this, and it starts to lose the overall shape like that. But if I hold down, so if I hold down Shift, start smoothing, and then I let go of Shift, then you see it retains the overall shape, but just starts evening out the vertices. So I use that quite a bit when I'm just trying to kind of round some edges. Yeah, ZBrush is full of fun little tricks. So this is a really good way to get yourself out of that real kind of hardline geometry feel, and a little bit more into kind of the organic feel. So you just will run just a quick alternate smooth across the edge here. And this also gives it a little bit more organic feel. So you don't have to be exact with everything, because when you're kind of hand hammering armor like this, it's never super machined feeling by the end. So I try to keep my processes similar to what type of overall feel that I want, whether it's like a machined feel or is it like hand, um, hand wrought or whatever. I'll try to keep my processes. So now I just want to start pinching this a little bit. So maybe I'll use just the pinch. Let's see if I can see what that does. Darken, have you already built a new interface for 2022, or are you still rocking the 2021.1.1.1.7? I am still 21.7. Yes, this is my custom UI. If you are new to ZBrush, please don't be fraught with my interface. It's kind of the way I work, is open and messy, is what I like, how I like to work. Basically, what I do is I just take all of the things that I use from my tool palette and bring them out here. So if you look, like, this is most of my subtool stuff, and then geometry stuff, and then more geometry stuff, more geometry, and then you get down into masking, deforming, masking, um, polygroups, morph targets, UVs, visibility, and then I just put some camera stuff down here because I didn't want to put it over here. This little guy's floating around like nothing. What are you doing over here, dude? And then on this side, just some other stuff like symmetry and posable symmetry, depth, interpolate, gravity is pretty good. Topological, I use this one a lot, which is really really cool. If I want to change this per brush, it's really nice. It's basically the same idea between um, the move brush, which is, hey, move everything in my subtool. Let's see. Yeah, this is actually good. So the difference between move and move topological, which most of you understand this, but just for some of the newer people that may be here, so move will just take everything in your subtool and move it evenly like this. But uh, move topological will just move the one that you click on, which is really awesome if you just want to kind of move things independently of each other like this. Super duper 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 helpful. And basically, it's the same exact brush. It's just with this topological marked on. And if you want to find that, that's in brush auto masking. So if you go into brush, auto masking, topological is right here. So then basically you can use that feature on anything, right? So maybe what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to pinch this. Like, oh, well, shoot, I don't want to pinch everything. We'll just turn on topological for that one. And then you could just pinch this one. Or this one. Right? So it's super handy to be able to use the topological on any brush, which is pretty cool. So that's why I keep that out there. A rocky question. What's up, Checo? It is necessary at the end of the sculpt to make UVs and paint it with polypaint, or may I just give it color in the middle of the sculpt? So there's two different things that you touched on. UV painting and polypainting are different. So basically, with polypaint, all that you're doing is you are assigning a color value to a vertex. So what happens is with polypaint, um, instead of it looking for UVs and looking for a color value that's on a texture, what it is it's just saying I want let's do blue, right? Let's turn off that. There we go. So if you're poly painting, what it's saying is that I'm applying a color value to this vertex, and then I'm one to this vertex, right? So that's what that's doing. So polypaint is just literally taking a vertex and applying a color to it. So that's why when you're low poly count like this and you try to polypaint, like you get like this really pixelated stuff, is because you don't have enough geometry in here for the distance between one vertex and the other vertex to be able to have a smooth transition. You have it much further apart when you're lower res like this, which means that which is good and bad, right? So if you use this in the right scenario, um, then it's awesome because you're just assigning it to the vertexes and you don't need UVs. So if you're going through and you have enough vertexes to handle poly paint, then you can paint it whenever you want. You don't need UVs to be able to look at a texture for your values. That was a long-winded answer. Sorry, I like long-winded answers sometimes. Okay, so let's get some differentiation here. Differentiation. Oh, good. Excellent. Yep, no problem. No problem. As my dad used to say, no problem, Bob. Okay, so I do. Yes, it's brush based, not polygroup. Let's divide this up once. Let's see if we can get just enough to get this design in here. And I'm just gonna try to block this in. And what I'm gonna do actually before I do that is I'm gonna store a morph target just in case I want to delete something. So morph targets. How, and why would you want to use morph targets? Um, you could use layers, you can use whatever you want, but morph targets are a very fast and quick way to go from A to B, state A to state B, and back and forth between those two states, or wherever that is. Or record state A, do A through a zillion, and then always refer back to A. So if I'm coming through and I'm doing a design or something, if I just want to kind of block something out, you know, so maybe we want to do this. Maybe there's like a little hitch in the giddy up there. You like that? Little hitch in the giddy up. Now, there's a couple things you can do. You can come back and just smooth this out if you really want to. But that still doesn't get you back to what it was before you did this. So if I just, now that I have that morph target, again, morph target is right here in here, but I just pull this stuff out to here. So morph target is in your tool brush. So I can go to brush, M, and then G for morph target. What that's going to do is you can brush out, oops, no RGB. You can brush out to where that previous state was. So I'll just pull these little guys out just a little bit. You're like, oh, this one did not do well, so I'm just going to paint that back to its original state. Have I tried painting UVs in Procreate yet? No, I have not. No. I want to start testing out Nomad on the iPad though. So if you want to just kind of come back and pull some of that out, and then come back and kind of redo some stuff, you can do that. Like, oh yeah, no, I don't like that. BMG. So I use Morph Target just for this. I don't technically use it really, or I don't use it in like a technical view, but just kind of when I'm sketching stuff out and I really want to, oops, BMG, or just undo that. Sometimes that's easier too. Maybe I'll turn on my lazy mouse. Gloves and Sundards. No, I have not. I will check that out though. Let's see how that's. So when I'm doing this, I want to take some design choices into consideration here and not have it, I don't want to have it completely echo this outer line. I want it to be just a little bit different. So I want to differ the thickness from this design line to this design line, and I want to kind of alternate some of these little giddy ups here. I mean, it does kind of look like a saddle. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Nomad. What is so? Wait, what is Nomad? Oh yeah, that's what. Wait, yeah, we are talking about the same thing. Oh, Procreate. Yeah, yeah. Procreate is. Wait, what is Procreate? Isn't that a Photoshop style? Isn't Procreate is a Photoshop style app for the iPad for painting? Got it. Glenn Southern's running. Yeah, I want. Yeah, it painting ish. Yeah. Let's turn that back to blue. probably should be doing this on a higher res. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I think I'm going to subdivide this a little bit more. And instead of doing it this way, because you're going to end up having like this little crest here on this side and then kind of a concave shape there. You may end up fighting that. I think I may just use masking and then deflate the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hit switch, and switch will actually turn it everything in the subtool back to its original state. So that's another cool thing about morph targets. It's like setting up an eraser basically, which is awesome. You're like, oh no, for me it gives me a freedom to try things out without knowing I don't like go back 1,000 steps in undo history or whatever. So I think what I'm going to do is let's divide this. Let's see what. Okay, I want RGB intensity. Okay, that's good. We're just going to see if we can do this using a mask. Yeah, random ZBrush questions are totally fine. Is there a way to have backface masking on by default without having to set every single brush? That one I'm not sure. I think there's a way to save the state of your brush. So so the cheap way and dirty way to do it is to say, um, and I think this will work, but this is just my mind working. To say, okay, I have dam standard, or let's say I have clay buildup, but then I want to have this on all the time. You could just create a new brush, or just copy the brush, clone, right? If I clone the brush, then it should stay with backface on. So if I go back to, yeah, so then you can just save a new brush with that on. That's kind of the dirty way of doing it. Um, there may be a way in preferences to also save your brushes with what you have them at last. Yeah, I don't think you can do it in startup options. I think I know there's a way to retain um, what your brushes are. So like when you know when you switch to a brush, its size and settings will stay the same, or not stay the same, but it will remember it for that particular brush instead of it being a global thing. So you may be able to do it through that. I forgot what option that was though. Right, B? Yeah. And I am not Anna, but I can't seem to find the way to change the title. Something is not hooked up correctly at the moment. So that's another thing too that you can do is you can keep backface mask on for your masking as well, so that you don't run into this issue like that. I've run into that issue so many times. Oh, can you do it, Spicer? Yeah, can you change it to Brendon Isaiah Bengtson character art? I thought it was just use exclamation point title, and then you can change it that way. Is that not how it is anymore? Or am I misremembering? By the way, you guys, make sure that you check out Spicer. He does some amazing stuff, but also is a ZBrush streamer here. Oh, okay, you can just log in and change it. Dougie with the bacon. I don't think you'll ever live that down. Thanks, Spicer. Appreciate it, dude. So maybe we'll just get the overall shape here, and then we'll come back in. Oops, that was weird. And then we'll edit some designs into it. Okay, so let's see. We've got this. Maybe we'll echo this a little bit there. Let's just see if this is going to work before we spend a ton of time. So what I can do is, now that I just have that, if I go into deformation and we go -1, yeah, there we go. And then we'll just hide the mask real quick. Right, that's the idea that I want. So the reason why I probably want to do it this way is because it makes the transition from this plane to this plane much smoother. You don't have that weird kind of like concave and convex by when you use a damp standard. And then actually what I could do is, let's go to view mask. Thank you, Spice. Appreciate it, man. If I go into move, then if I want to tighten up that fall off, I can just do it like this and just push this ever so slightly up against that mask. Like that. And then that way I can control how that fall off feels. I can loosen it in some areas, which is really cool. You can control those little bevels in a interesting way. Maybe these guys I wanna. Right, and then we'll just turn the mask off real quick. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think mask will work pretty good. Okay, now that that works, let's go back. Okay, we'll put a couple little hitches in the giddy up over here. Just a couple little design elements. Happy little designs. Okay. This is another reason why I like working with masks a little bit. If you have the patience, then you can use this to your advantage. If you have the patience. It does take a little bit sometimes. All right, let's do a little bit of something back here. Maybe we'll... something like that. Maybe this one will come down a little bit. Do a little... Okay. All right. Maybe what we'll do is sharpen it once. There we go. And then dilute. Boost. Yeah, I like boost. Okay, cool. So let's try that. God, I don't really like this. It's gross. Why don't we just try that? Okay, so we'll try that, and then we're gonna go in and just do inflate at a -1. Then we're gonna hide the mask. See how that looks. Yeah. So one of the cool things is it feels like this is on a different plane than this right here. So it almost looks like this curves in a little bit more, but like as in from here to here was kind of pushed in a little bit more off of this plane. I really like how that feels. It gives the shapes much more dynamic lighting when you have different planes interacting with each other. So with this one, it's like, oh, it's kind of all one plane, and I really want to get away from that as much as I can. So I'm gonna see if I can take this plane here from here, this little half moon, and kind of push it back in to see if I can get some good differentiation. Yeah, I saw you, Wishka King. Just a second, okay? One second. Okay, let's clear. So then maybe what I'll do is I'll just take this. Okay, and then we'll pull this mask back out. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. What I want to do though, actually, let's redo that and let's turn off backface mask on my mask because I want it to do both sides. So I want the whole plane to move. So if I go like that, it should mask the other side too. Cool, that's what I want. Okay, I'll pull this out real quick. The masking thing does take some patience. Kind of, it's a lot of plan, a lot of plan, a lot of planning, and then hopefully the payoff works. I'm trying to do it without. Sometimes I try to test myself and see if I can make smooth lines without cheating. It's not cheating. It's using a tool. It's not cheating. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly, let's turn down RGB intensity. And I'm just going to pull, just brush a little bit of this out. And then I'll grab my move brush and just go, what? See if that works. Yeah, so see how it kind of just, it has a different plane in it now? Yeah, you can use a curve too, either way. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll just smooth this out. Let's clear the mask. Let's smooth this out. Then maybe what we'll do is we'll tighten that up a little bit. So now it has kind of a little bit different of a characteristic when it comes to how the light bends off of it. And then you can play with that a little bit by pulling some of this out here. Yeah, there's about 1,000 ways to do it. You are correct. All right, so looking for a quick video on how to evenly space edge loops to form a grid that's evenly spaced with ZModeler without rewatching 3 hours on. That's easy, dude. Just use if you go to your ZModeler brush, let's just do this. Let's append that, and then we'll just Q. So let me grab a. So initialize. We'll just do this at 1 to 1 to 1. Q cube. Just use your ZModeler brush. So if I'm in ZModeler, go to your edge loop and go insert and then do multiple edge loops. And then you can just click and drag and it will evenly space out that way, like this. And then if you just single click on the other one, it'll do the exact same you did on the other one. So it gives you even spaced. Boom. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay. Yeah, so the light's playing off that kind of interestingly. No problem, dude. No problem. No problem. I actually maybe want to just push this in a little bit more. The other thing you can do too, I don't know if you guys all knew this or not, but in your light box, if you go to brush, you have other brushes that are not in your brush palette. So if you come down to, oh, where's smoothie smooth? Smooth? You have other smooth brushes in here. So if for some reason your smooth is not smooth enough, you have also smooth stronger, which is really cool. And that just smooth stronger. So sometimes if I don't want to like, oh, change my subdivisions or, um, if my smooth amount is all the way up to 100, then I can just use the smooth stronger. Casey, yeah. Um, Character art takes a while to do. So especially when you're doing production stuff, it takes quite a long time. And you'll have to you got to know that I'm only uh, at most 2 to 4 hours of work a month on this thing. A month. So I think I'm only that was maybe like eighth stream or something like that. So I'm only like 16 hours into this. When it usually, I would say for production, would take probably maybe 80 hours for the full thing. So yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, very. You could say that. Um, a full-time artist and family and life. So I've only been working on this character on these streams. So yeah, I really like how this is. And the other thing too is I've been trying to figure out if this is a hole or if this is painted. And I'm not quite sure which I'm deciding yet. I don't know if Bjorn had an idea. So if these are like holes in this, and what you're seeing is the red cloth behind it, or if it's like red paint or something. I haven't decided which I want to do yet. We will see. We will see. One of my day-to-day activities, like as a lead, it really depends on where you are in the project. Is the short answer. Um, a lot of times you're dealing with just the overall production really is the base answer. Um, there's like this little crease right here that is pretty interesting. So maybe I want to flatten out this plane and this plane just a little bit and see if I can get a little bit more kind of subtle light play off of this extra shape. Um, but yeah, basically you're overseeing the entire production, really. Um, maybe instead of doing that, I will just do something like this. But really, yeah, lots of meetings. Are you creating many characters or refining others' work? Typically, it's just oversight. and kind of looking at the where you are in general. Oops. Oh my gosh. That's why. Got it. I'm on the wrong brush. Feedback, just basically managing assets is really what you're doing. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pen and I'm going to keep my RGB intensity down, and then I'm just going to slowly but surely, stop calling me Shirley, just erase some of this. So get kind of a nice blend on this move here. Yeah, sure, dude. Go for it. Okay, so then what we'll do is maybe we could just say, nope, that's not gonna work. Trying to think if there's a good way. Maybe if we bring this down here and twist it up like that. That doesn't really work though, huh? It gives this like kind of concave feel in here, which I don't like. Maybe what I can do then is just kind of by hand this stuff in here. Oops. Okay, let's clear that. What I want to do is kind of even this plane out a little bit. So maybe able to do it by hand and then just kind of polish it up with H polish. It's a little bit more grunt work than I really like to do when I'm trying to control all this stuff, but favorite new tool in Z 2022, 2020, 2022? That's a good question. Good question. There's just so much good stuff. um, I really enjoy the interpolate stuff, and I really enjoy the stager. This might be a little bit more trouble than it's worth here. You're still trying to catch 2021? You better hurry, dude. Better hurry. Sometimes it's just easier to just kind of brute force some of this stuff a little bit, and then oops. Should have saved a morph target though. So we'll see. One thing that's guaranteed though is by the time you figure out how to do something, you pretty much are guaranteed to know about 4 or 5 different ways that it doesn't work. And that's really the story of a lot of things. Like I got it to work, uh, but it took me a while to get to that. And you see that it just doesn't really. No, not digging it. Fail hard, fail fast. Yep, that's fine. Maybe what I can do then is I'll just put a crease in here. Maybe we'll do freehand instead of dots. Ooh, that's a bit much. Yeah, there's a lot of good things that come out pretty much every single time ZBrush puts something out, which is awesome. New tools, thank you very much. I'll take them. Yeah, exactly, Whisker King. So he says, it's weird watching other artists go about working because you're always considering doing your own workflow and methodology. The good news is you learn stuff, and you're like, ooh, yeah. Yep. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I do live teaching and work, because in tutorials you don't see when the person kind of fails and or makes a mistake or is like, oh shoot, I don't know how to do this thing. How do I figure this out? And those are the moments that are really really important, because you get to see how somebody thinks and solves problems on the fly, and that's really kind of what we all need to figure out is how do we solve the problem. And the problem with videos and tutorials and stuff is that you don't really get that. You get kind of, oh, this is the process that I do it. Okay, now you go do it. But that doesn't work for, everyday normal day-to-day work where you're like, oh crap, this thing isn't working. How do I figure this out? You know? Oops. All right, that's starting to feel okay. Let's maybe just spread that, thin this out a little bit. Let that just fall off. It's a little crooked. I'm just going to try to straighten this out a little bit. Okay. And then you can go back and clean up as much of this stuff as you want, really. If there's any kind of weirdness in here, you just go through and just strong hand it here. Yeah, I think that's good for now. It's a good first step. Feels pretty good. Does bend up quite a bit more than I have it now. So maybe we'll try to get this little bend up back in. There's a couple of things that I could do. Actually, who was I watching? Oh, I was watching um, the jewelry Mr. Uh, anyways, he uses the the Transpose Tool. Was it him? I don't know. I don't remember who it was. So Transpose, and then if you hit Y on your keyboard during Transpose, you can switch to the old version um, of the Transpose tool. And then what I'm gonna do is just going to redraw this. Actually, I'm gonna redraw it like this. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this out so that this center point is right on the edge. And then what I can do is, if I hold down Alt and move it this way, it'll actually bend like that. What? Somebody was doing filigree. No, it was I forgot who it was. It was one of our streamers who was doing a ring and was doing filigree on the ring. I forgot. Was it Nacho? I think it was Nacho Spicer. Yes. But I got this from him, and this has saved my life so many times. There's been so many times where I just need to bend something really nicely, and it's not within the realm of the um, like the transform. But this worked perfectly. Okay, yeah. So hit W, right, and move into your transpose tool. Then if you hit Y on your keyboard, it'll change to the old style, right? So then you can just click and drag, and it will reposition the old transpose tool. So what I want to do is I want to bend from about here to here this way. So I'm going to take the transpose tool and redraw it from where I want the bend to start and then to the end of where the bend ends, right? So I want to just kind of bend this whole thing up this way just a little bit. So then I'll go perpendicular to that and grab on the outside of this right here so that, sorry, you can move the end of the transpose without it having to change anything. And you pull that straight out until the middle circle there is at the end of the model where you want to bend, like this. Right? So then now if you hold Alt and you click in the middle here, you can drag this way or that way, and it will bend like that. David K, what's up, man? How you doing? You guys get that? Yeah, that one, I saw him do that, and that's what those little nuggets that, like, when you're watching somebody else work, like, they use those things all the time, right? And you're like, wait, how did I not know that? Oh my God, that's awesome! Yes, right? And that's why the watching people live like is so important. Yes, it takes more time, but you can get nuggets like that. Yeah, that feels better. Oh, you know what we could do? What if we do this? We take that same idea. Ooh, I got chills right now. Don't you love when you think of an idea and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do that, and like you get all chills because you're like really excited that it actually may work. All right, so let's just going to kind of erase just this transition line here, like that. Cool. Let's do that, and then let's go back to my transition line here. Gonna redraw from here to here, and then I'm going to just grab. You have to grab the very edge of this to reposition. I'm actually going to, because I want to rotate parallel to those two lines, like that. And then I'm going to hold Alt and just go. That doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Nope, still not going to work. Okay, fail quick, fail hard. Move on. Maybe if I just use my move tool and just kind of sneak this up, this plane up, and maybe this plane down like this. Maybe that works better. You know, maybe actually this plane is convex, like this, and this is concave. That actually may work. And that's that. I mean, it's these little things that really make a big difference when you're, paying attention to all the little details and how light reflects. And basically, what you're doing with all this is you're just sculpting light, right? So what I want the light to do is to act differently as it rolls over this. And that gives a lot more visual interest. Right? Just how you're getting the light acting differently here versus here. And then now you have the light act differently here versus here. Yes, I do have my own Twitch channel. I haven't been there in quite a bit of a time, but when I am there, I'm typically doing stuff outside of ZBrush. So I'll do like Painter or um, other things within the realm of character. Maybe doing some baking in what is that? Pharmacet? Stuff that isn't necessarily ZBrush. I try to save the stuff I do on my personal Twitch channel that I don't necessarily doesn't feel right to do on a ZBrush channel. So anything else in the pipeline, like UVs, baking, and materializing, and that kind of thing. Baking, I hate baking. I mean, if you have a good bake and everything works out, it makes your low res so awesome, and it's completely worth it after. But the whole process is just exploding and matching high res and low res and combining maps and it's just yeah, yeah, gross. All right, so let's take the next piece. So let's do this one next. All right, we'll dupe. And for anybody who came in not at the beginning of this one, we'll see how to do the next one. Being able to ask somebody live is not my generation of learning. Thank you, Siri. I have another. Yeah, I know, right? It's a slow burn when you're watching people live, but typically by the time you're done, you have a couple of nuggets that you're just like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And then you end up being like, okay, that was worth it. Okay. Okay, all right. How to retopo something so thin, and do you give thickness to it in retopo stage or not? How do you take it? How do you make it look like it has thickness if it's only plain over armor? You build the thickness into the low res. So you would probably have at least three um, lines through here. Three so you probably have a flat plane, one line here, or edge loop here, one to hold the crest, and then another to hold this crest, and then flat plane down here, and then you leave the rest of it up to baking in the normals and stuff. But yeah, you would for sure have it in your low res. From this stage, how much more refinement do you do to sharpen up the topology from this point? Or do you consider this acceptable level of detail? Are you talking Whisper King? Are you talking about just on this particular piece, or just on everything in general? Did we dupe it? Yes, we did dupe it. Okay. So then this one, we're gonna do the same process. Now that I have the process figured out of how I want to do it, the next one shouldn't take as long. We'll see though. Oh, the model as a whole. Um, Lots of refinement. So the thing that you want to get from your model is the overall shape, but any details that you want outside of what a repeating material will give you, you need to sculpt in. So like I can't get a repeating material to give me this detail, right? So I need to sculpt that stuff in. But like all of all of this stuff here, all these lines, I could probably get that in a material. So I don't need to sculpt that. This may be a little bit more difficult to get in a material because it's kind of like this radial pattern where like they all comes from a point up here. If it was just straight up and down, then maybe. Or you would have to set up your UVs to be kind of rounded specifically so that a a straight up and down texture could loop itself around this way. So you'd have to kind of play with it a little bit. What I would do if I was in the studio is I would at first just say, okay, I'm going to try to get this in the material. And then if it didn't work, then I would either go back and kind of futz the UVs a little bit, rebake it quick, and then resend it back over to Painter and update the mesh in Painter until I can get that, exhaust that. If that still doesn't work, then I go back to ZBrush, sculpt it in real quick, rebake it, plug it into the normals, and then go from there. But I'll try the least path of resistance first. Yeah, I don't know. Well, so yeah, this you're looking at the this piping back here is what you're saying. What I'm reading this as is a kind of a cloth layer underneath the armor. So that's what I've done is I've made this little piping as like a cloth layer underneath. But I think I'm not sure yet. So again, this one is it's a little bit different. It's a kind of a colored bone part of that's running through all this bone structure. So it's handled a little bit differently in each area, right? Like so these are cloth pieces. Um, yeah, I think maybe the cloth underneath, but because there's no like depth shadow in here to show that it would be like kind of behind, you're like, okay, well if this is this, then where is this piece? Right? This piece should actually be crossing like this. If this was actually the capes, right? That's what makes me think a little bit. Maybe it's just a part of like painted part of the armor or something. So I haven't quite decided yet. I think it would be more visually interesting if these were holes and you're seeing the cloth underneath. Yeah, I mean it's all fantasy. So you're like, and this is actually a point to make where the relationship of your concept artist and the original idea versus uh versus like what you are interpreting it as and how your version in 3D is going to live, right? So there's some gray area there that you have to play with. As a character artist who is working from a concept, the base job that you have is to interpret and stay true to the ideology of the concept, right? If you are representing the concept as best you can for the life of what this concept feels like in 3D, that's your main goal. So there is some room to kind of play with different ideas and be able to kind of push and pull things and uh, in like small little areas. That's totally fine, as long as you're still staying true to the idea of the concept and the overall message of what the concept is. Or what you could do is you could just go back to the concept artist and say, hey, what do you? This looks a little bit unclear. What do you think this is? What do you feel like this is? All right, so let's go to this one. So again, I was using dynamic. So if I turn dynamic off, it's just a plane. So when I'm concepting stuff around and just blocking stuff in, not concepting, just blocking stuff in, I'll just use the dynamic with some thickness so that I can move things around and it retains a nice thickness. So once I have everything in place, then I'll dupe it and then come into geometry, apply. All right, now I don't have that anymore. Now I can kind of get the town here. So I'll just do, again, I'll just do a quick alternate smooth across the edges here. Again, the alternate smooth, I'm just using um, the smooth brush, but I will lift my finger off and just lightly press on it. And what that does is it tries to retain the overall shape and just evens out some of the vertexes. What's up, Alex? How you doing? Yep, I duplicate it just in case I want to go back to that original one. I'm a paranoid worker like that. Okay, so that gives it a little bit more of an organic shape. Cool. And then I knew what I did last time was I just went in and um, this one does not have that weird little this little thing, that plane change, so I don't have to worry about that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mask brush and let's turn my RGB intensity up. I'm just going to... Okay, fine. I will use lazy mouse on my mask. The problem with that is that it doesn't quite get the hardness that I like. So I have to kind of futz with the intensity, right? So like the problem with lazy mouse is that the intensity is a little bit weird when, especially when it comes to masking. So if I turn lazy mouse off, right, then I can do something like that. It may not be the smoothest curve in the world, but at least it doesn't have the fall off that the other one does. And I don't necessarily want to rely on grow, boost, dilute, or shrink mask. Um, I have to like have a little bit more control. So sometimes it's just a little bit quicker. It's a quicker, thicker picker upper. Let's turn my backface mask on. To just draw it in real quick. And we all need practice drawing smooth curves, right? Hey, not bad. Why not use polygroups to define a sharper line? How would you define that polygroup? For me, what I would do is I would use masking like this, and then do group masked. But then you're like, okay, well, you're still based on um, your. Oh yeah, you're saying just use. Yeah, I mean, you could do it this way, but then you have to work with, you know. So you're saying, oops, I didn't do it. Oh, it's because I didn't finish it. Because then my your problem becomes a little bit more weird because you have to start it somewhere, right? So if you're doing it like this, you have to go outside. You have to finish inside and outside to be able to do it. But then okay, they're like, okay, cool. Then I go like this. I mean, you could do it that way, but then how are you gonna move the um, the polygroup? You know, you may just end up spending more time trying to do it the polygroup way than to just draw something out real quick. And for me, I like for masking like this, I like that you can edit it on the fly, right? So you're like, oh, I don't like that, so I'm just gonna draw this back out. Whereas if you're trying to do it with polygroups, you're like, okay, I have to undo something, and then redo it. There's just a lot of kind of weird things that can happen in outside of kind of the creative painting aspect that I want to do at that moment. You know what I mean? I like doing the mask. You know, it may take a little bit longer, but the nice thing is that you can just you're like, oh, maybe I want this random shape here. Cool. Nope, I don't like that. And then you just erase it real quick. So I feel like this gives a little bit more flexibility in terms of when you're trying to design something. You don't know exactly what you want at that moment. But the great thing is that we can all do it however we want to. So what may work for me may not work for you, and vice versa. That's the beautiful thing. Okay, so this one is definitely a little bit more simple. Dougie says 2023 is going to have a feature for remove masking that got drawn on the back face because it wasn't turned on button. Yep, that's the one. All right, let's see. So you don't really see much here. There could be something there. It could not. It could just be all the same plane. But I think I like the consistency of having a border here, having a border here, and this one looks like it has a little border. And then putting in a border on this one too. It just feels like they're kind of made for the same design. And then what I'll do is I'll just take and make a secondary piece for this one in here. What I really like is that I love when this happens too, is you have a graphical design change, but then you have a form change outside of the graphical change, right? So you have like this little crease line here is in that whole piece and is not part of this graphical design. Love when that happens. You find that a lot in like Iron Man suits. There's a ton of that, right? Where like you have the the red and the gold, and they're making a graphic design, but then your form design isn't exactly on those lines. They could be off a little bit, you know. That's I love that. Love it. I love it. It's good. So do I want it to? Maybe I'll come like that a little bit more. I don't like how it's tangent right here. See how it kind of like comes in and touches on this corner and this corner? I don't really want that to be super tangent like that, so I'm going to try to bring it out just a little bit so it flows a little bit better. Almost at the division where it comes out straight and then it curves up, kind of like that. You know what? I gotta look at my notes real quick. Remember all of the features that were in 2022? I still take notes on paper. How archaic is that? Um, oh my gosh, there's a lot. Like the noise on the brushes is pretty cool. Um, oh, the Dynamesh picker is really cool too. Align is really nice. I probably have to say though that the subtools visibility is actually really good too. I like that. There's a lot of good stuff. The bas relief is pretty cool too. Yeah, the bas relief. Bas? Is it bas or bass? Yeah, align and distribute is good too. I like the idea of the visibility things too. Um, the problem of that for me is I'm typically like so high in the subtools that I don't even go to my subtool anymore. uh, the only time I do is when I'm prepping for baking. Really is when I do that. So this one I actually it looks like it curves up a little bit more. So right now it's kind of coming in here like this. I really want it to kind of curve up like this and follow this line. So I'm gonna pull that up just a little bit. And I'm very analog when it comes to certain things. Other things I'm like, nope, it's all digital, baby. I'm using ghosting right now. So I use that when I need to see or work underneath another subtool, but I want to see the rest of the design or the rest of the subtools while I'm at it. And that is in, if you go to transform and you do transparent, then you turn on ghosting. You can do it without ghosting too, but transparency is where it's at. So the problem, here's the difference between ghosting and just regular transparency, is that if it's just regular transparency, you can't work underneath, right? It still registers everything that's on top of it. But if you have ghost on, then it only registers your current subtool. So you can keep everything else on, so you can see where all the other designs are, and you can work underneath. I use that quite a bit. I actually have that mapped to a shortcut. There we go. So I want this breakup to go right into this curve, not follow this down here. Going old school. You know what it is? Uh, I trained my brain that way early on in my learning career. I have a really good visual memory, so when I would study for tests, I would always write the notes. But to remember the information, I remember where I wrote it on the paper, where I wrote the answer. So I would have this connection of the visual with the actual information. So I do that quite a bit so that I can remember things. But my memory is getting worse as I get a little older, so it doesn't work as good as it used to. But that was an old habit from high school and college. It worked pretty well. Let's see if we can get another little. Yeah, a lot of artists have the same thing. Somebody who is uh, more of a visual person tends to learn visually, right? And more often than not, that person ends up being some kind of artist or something. And that's what most of us are here. Okay, so I think that's okay for right now. So we'll go with that. Maybe we'll just clean this up just a touch. All right, so I think that's good. Maybe what we'll do is we'll boost once. So what boosting is doing is it's taking the fall off, right? Or so some of the yeah, if you're looking at the vertexes in here, it says, oh, these vertexes are at a higher fill rate than some of these, and then these fill rates of these vertexes for the mask is at 0. So what it does is says anything that's over 0, it will increase a specific amount uniform. So basically fills in more of something that has at least some mask value on it. So if I do boost mask again, it'll just fill in parts of those that have had some kind of mask on them. Yeah, Ghost is useful quite a bit. That's actually why I have it on shortcut. My shortcut for it is so V is my shortcut for solo. So and then I'll do Shift V um, for Ghost. Actually, Shift V is for transparency, but I always have my Ghost on. Oh, is there a hotkey for boost? I don't know. Let's see. I don't think so. It should show here. Yep. Okay. So then we'll take this. Oh crap! I hope I divided it enough. I guess we'll see in a second. And then we're gonna go to deformation. We're gonna go to inflate and do a -1. Oops. Invert the mask. -1. Okay, and then we're going to, while we have this, we're just going to tighten up some of the areas that we want real quick. Maybe we'll just loosen this up just a little bit. Tighten these guys up. It's just one of the many ways of doing things. You find that like once you get your process down and you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I know how I would do that. Um, things become a lot clearer. You don't tend to kind of freak out as as much on like, oh sugars, how am I gonna do that? You can almost break it down in your head when you're looking at something. You're like, oh, I know exactly how I would do that. Like I would do this, this, and then this, because I know I've done it before, or I know I've done something similar, and that would work. All right, so let's turn that off real quick. We'll just take a quick check. Yeah, deformation can be super duper powerful. Super duper powerful. Let's just push that guy back in there. I do want to have a little bit more in here. We have quite a bit of surface plane change there. So, oops. Let's go back to this guy. Let's turn the mask back on. And let's get you move on. Just tighten that up a little bit. It reads just a little bit better. Like that. Which kind of echoes this guy as well. And then what I want to do is while I have this masked, I'm going to Let's invert this, and then let's do this little plane change that's in here. Let's see if we can get this little in here while we're at it. Exactly like that. It's called. And what I would do is I want to get rid of this guy first. So let's do smooth, 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 regular smooth. And I don't think regular smooth is going to work. I could just use my handy dandy notebook. Just use my clay buildup and just kind of fill that gap in, and then use my alternate smooth, inverse, move, sharpen that up just a little bit more. I'm not worried about these little hiccups in here because I can move all of it together once once I get the bevel how I want. Okay, so let's inverse that, and then we're going to use a big dam standard, and then we're just going to go. That's the idea. Test that out, see how it works. Right, so you got now this cool light play outside of what the graphic design is going to be, which I love, 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 love. I think it needs to be just a touch more though. And let's do it this way so I can go in the arc of my wrist. I am right-handed. Well, we can use lazy mouse on this one. Nice and light. We start coming in. Yeah. Just move our light a little bit and see if we can get some of that catching. Yeah, when you have light from the front, you'll catch a highlight here and then dark, a little bit more shadow as the light falls off through there, which is really cool. It's subtle too. It also, things like that give a sense of craftsmanship and value to a piece that you're working on. And maybe we can just emphasize a little bit of this just by hand drawing it in. Just push it just a little bit further. Okay, now what we can do is, oops, let's take this and push all this back. So maybe what I can do is, let's do that same trick that we did with turning this little piece that we did on this one, but we'll do it here. So I want to get this similar type of effect, but with that, I want to utilize the mask that I already have. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mask like this. Okay, and then we'll just mask all that back there. Oops. Nope, not that side. Mask all that. Do I want it to go that way? Not really. All right, so let's go back to my brush. Let's just straighten this out a little bit. Something more like that. All right, and then the hotkey that I have to isolate a single object is V. V is in Victor. But you can go and change that however. I don't know if that was standard or not, but I use V. That's in transform solo. Default is Alt. Really? Alt click. Interesting. Yeah, I use V because I mix that with ghosting, so I can isolate and do that pretty quick. All right, so then what I'm gonna do is just lightly build this up. I want to have just a little bit of fall off, but I'm painting it in because I want to retain this edge. Oops. Oh, maybe you're talking about shift control click if it's a polygroup. That's different from solo. All right, so let's do that same thing. So here's that bend trick that we were doing earlier that I got from Nacho. So turn on our handy dandy gizmo, hit Y to go to the old school gizmo, and then we start from here, drag out to here. Then I'm just going to grab the edge and pull it out to about here so that the middle circle is on the edge of where I want it to go. And then I hold down Alt, oops, no, Control, grab this and pull it this way. Oops. Can I not do it that way? Oh, maybe it doesn't like it on the mask. Oh no, there we go. Ah, oh, it doesn't have the other side. No. Hmm. Um, I'm just gonna have to do it the other way. So let's clear the mask, and we're just gonna paint in. But we're gonna paint. Sometimes it's just easier to just continue moving forward. I'm just gonna turn backface mask off for my mask, like that. Sometimes it's just easier to just continue moving forward. Okay. Um, I don't understand what you're saying, Whisker. What you're doing now is covering up the panel loops in Pixo Classroom flying car thingy video. I'm not sure what you're. I don't know what you're saying, man. I don't even know what that means. Anybody get that reference? That's an old school reference right there. I like throwing movie quotes out just to see who pick them up. Okay, so we got that, and we got that, which is good. Is it possible to make mechanical models with dimensions in ZBrush? It may be. I think you would need to talk with someone who does printing um, in ZBrush. I don't really know enough to. Oh, his panel loops thing. Gotcha. I don't know enough about printing and those types of things to give you a solid answer on that. So I would probably ask somebody who does printing. Okay, so I'm just going to feather this edge a little bit. We're just going to by hand it. Oops. Okay, cool. So then we have that, and then we'll go like this. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Except that's not the way that we want it to go. We want it to go this way. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the edge. Oops. So I want to start here and go to about there. And then I'm going to go to the side and grab this guy and pull it straight down. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to hit Alt and push that in like that. Okay, we're going to hide that via the mask. Grab this. Let's push that in a little bit. Grab this guy. Let's put that one in. Actually, we can pull this up just a little bit just to give us that graphic breakup. See how it looks. Saving. Holy cow, how is it almost 3 o'clock already? So we can just use that as a breakup there, just to see what that looks like. But I want to control the edge of it a little bit more, so I'm just going to push this in for right now. Okay, then I'm going to go back to this subtool. Okay. Okay, I think maybe we'll push it a little bit further. I think we can clean up those edges okay. So let's try to do that real quick. We'll just grunt these edges a little bit here. And just come in with the move brush and some of your other brushes to just clean up some of this stuff real quick like. Okay. Okay, and then we can just smooth out some of this stuff. This little transition here, we can just smooth that. Smooth that out. Again, I'm using the alternate smooth. Let me just clean up some of these edges just a touch. A lot of times what I do too is when you're trying to work on the concave portion of this, a lot of times you could just instead of working from this side, just go to this side. Work on this side. So you can just use pinch maybe on this side. I may need another subdivision level though. And then you can even use your move brush and stuff and work from the opposite side to get some of those like weirdness, right? If you're like coming in here, you see these kind of like wobbly wobs. You can just come in and grab it from the other side. Then maybe use a smooth from this side, or even a H polish from this side. H polish. I just may need some more geo in there. But I do this quite a bit where I actually forget to do this quite a bit is what I meant to say. Is just work from the opposite side. Helps out quite a bit. Sometimes it can be really difficult trying to get into the little corners and stuff consistently. Maybe I'll use a damp standard to give a little bit more pinch here too. Okay. I think that's good enough for now. We can come back and fix up all this stuff if we need to. Probably needs another subdivision. Let's do that. Okay. Definitely needs more cleaning in there. For sure. Cool. Starting to get some little bit more high-res details going on. Didn't get a whole lot done today, but we got some. That's alright. Taking our time. Taking our time. Oh, no, that's totally fine, Whisker. Totally fine. Alright, it is 3 o'clock here. It is time for me to call it for the day. This version of BIB in the classroom is complete. Got a long way to go, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We'll get there eventually. And maybe we'll get over to the posed version and the Boogeyman at some point too. So some of the things that I was thinking about next is using actually the bas relief stuff for these little doohickey guys here, and maybe some of these like the filigree and stuff that are on like this type of stuff. So maybe we'll try out the bas relief on these things, see what we can do. I think it'd be fun. All right. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. But most of all, I hope you were inspired to go make your own cool stuff. So get out there and go make some cool stuff. And have fun while you're doing it. Remember, it's supposed to be fun. All right. I will check you guys soon. If I don't talk to you before then, happy Thanksgiving. Peace! Later, everybody.